Stu Jeffries, how are you, buddy?
I'm well, my friend. How are you?
Good, good. Turning that video on to see your beautiful face, or what?
Yeah, hold on one second here while I negotiate this nonsense. Okay, and
Nice.
I'm in a hang on just one sec here so I can find anything here. Ah, hell with it. I'm in a this is a little mini studio I built underneath the staircase in our house, leading down to the laundry room. It's like this thin. It's just enough for me and just about this much room.
Nice.
And it is the dullest. It looks like a war bunker, but it's super quiet, so you won't hear the dog bark or the kids scream. So we're good.
Oh, good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the Harry Potter, right?
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, I did the same when I got let go from CFOX. I converted this was used to be like the spare room where mom
Yeah.
or whoever would crash over if they were staying over or whatever. Now they're just
Right.
crashing on the couch if they're coming over.
That's
Uh,
right. That's right. And it's all, every house has a room. And if you can't do one or build one, like a closet works just fine with clothes all behind you. Acoustics are fine. Like, yeah, it's
yeah,
good.
you just need something to deaden the sound. Yeah.
That's right.
Dude, what a trip, man, it is. Like I was just thinking right before jumping on with you here, like if you had been able to tell my 12 11 12 year old self, that I'm going to be talking to that host that's on every single Friday, like, dude, seriously, man, like I'd mentioned that you're one of the reasons why I got into broadcasting. I'm not just
Well,
saying it for blowing smoke, man. I was
no.
religious of watching that show. So Stu, thank you for helping me get down that path. I've been it since 95.
I'm so glad. There's like, first of all, there's no business like it as far as I'm concerned. But also, when I hear, and I do every so often hear from people, when you told me that I was the reason you got into broadcasting and stuff, I can't tell you how that makes me feel. That's like, you're talking to a guy that was so unbelievably passionate about radio more than anything. Um, and I've loved it since I was 7, 8, 9 years old. I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
Mm,
So whenever you come across people that are as passionate as I was, I'm like always open the door and yeah, let's talk about it, man. I love
yeah,
this industry
absolutely.
is so awesome. TV was great. It was a wonderful, I mean, an amazing opportunity. And Good Rockin' was a show that lasted like 10 seasons, and a CBC, anything that lasts 10 seasons on CBC right now, it's like ridiculous.
Right.
It was one of those last variety shows that kind of hung in there. And I've always been lucky. I've always been sort of when I started in radio in '79, AM was still very viable and still playing music and still rocking.
In
Um,
79. Wow.
so yeah, '79. So I was like, I was fortunate to be on AM when it was still rocking, and FM was coming up, and then I was on FM when it was happening, and then TV doing a video show. Like, could you imagine doing a video show now? It's like, no, because I mean,
Well,
you can just go to YouTube and find out whatever you want, right? But I mean, back then it was the only source of information and videos and stuff. So I was lucky to be on that
it,
sort of cusp.
yeah, and a mutual friend of ours, a guy named Ken Legg, had said that
Yeah.
like you would go fly to Vancouver, record Good Rockin' Tonight, fly back to get to your morning show or whatever it was in, I think it was
It was
Regina.
I was doing middays in Regina at the time. So I got the job when I was in Regina. So yeah, so I worked Monday to Friday and then fly out to Vancouver, do the show Saturday, fly back Sunday. And then I moved to Vancouver because the flying after a while I thought it would be really cool. And it was like after 2 weekends, I'm like, no,
Mm,
this is not cool at all.
I
I'm
could see how
done.
that get pretty old
Um,
pretty quick.
yeah. Although at first, right, the first couple of weeks, you think, and I'm in Regina, right? So I'm like, I'm a jet setter. I'm going to Vancouver. This is awesome, right? Um, but then, yeah, I ended up moving out to Vancouver to just do Good Rockin' solely. But I miss radio so much that, and it was hard to sort of get into the Vancouver market at that time. So I was fortunate to get a job doing mornings in Edmonton, and I started that flying back and forth thing again. And then I picked up the switchback job at CBC in Vancouver. So it was Monday to Friday mornings at K97 in Edmonton. Leave the show Friday at 9 o'clock to go to the Edmonton airport, which is like, it's, if you've ever been to Edmonton, the airport is so far outside the city. It's
The
like
drive.
another drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then flying out to Vancouver, Good Rockin' Saturday, switch back on Sunday, and then flying back again to do mornings Monday to Friday. So that again didn't last too long. But uh, I think about it now. When you're young and stupid, and the world has kind of opened up for you. You are you're all in, right? You'll do whatever it takes, and
Oh, for sure.
I was happy to be part of it. Yeah,
Like, yeah, and consider like Stu, the time, of course, it was just a different time as well, right? Like no internet,
yeah,
of course.
yeah,
You had like
of
Rolling
course.
Stone and Spin and Circus if you're
Yeah,
looking for like music news, or you had
yeah,
you.
yeah. And I hear that, and even while I was doing the show, I mean, it's funny, Todd. Like you, as the years go by, and I mean, don't get me wrong, when people say nice things about me, I love it. It's so wonderful. But I think that if you stay in something long enough, you'll be a legend, whether you're good or not. And I think people throw that icon sort of, name and whatever out there and say you're an expert at this and that. Well, it's just that I've been doing it a long time.
Right.
But yeah, doing I remember having to go to like a newsstand to get a copy of USA Today for show prep back in the day, whereas now, God, you got access to everything at your fingertips, and it's totally different. So even just thinking about
Instantaneous.
how that was all executed back there, yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Dude, it's insane. Like, and
Yeah,
and specifically, what would happen with your showing like Friday night videos, and there was other video shows around, but you would
yeah,
always play like the best, nothing but the best. It would be like Duran Duran, Hungry Like the Wolf, crazy video,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Van Halen Jump, and like Michael
yeah,
Jackson's Thriller, and like huge videos at the time, and still they're
yeah.
iconic now, right?
Yeah, our producer of that show, Ken Gibson, was like so. Here was a guy that was. So I was probably 24, I guess, 24, 25 when I started doing that show.
Mm,
He was 50, maybe 55, looked like your dad. And you would never sort of put that face to a guy that's plugged into music. But oh my God, he was so good. And so he would introduce videos on that show. I remember I would write the scripts for them, and he would say, "We're going to play a video from, say, Icicle Works." And you're like, "Who the hell is Icicle Works?" And he said, "Well, I just got a good feeling about it. This guy could pick a hit like you couldn't believe." And so, so it makes us look great because we're on the forefront of all these great videos. You're seeing them for the first time or around the first time. It's
right.
all because of him. He was so good at that.
That's incredible. So could you pick like a top, and we'll move on, of course, to other parts of your career and all that, but
Yeah,
for good.
I'm in your hands. Whatever you
All
want to
right,
do,
all
that's
right,
good.
great. So for the good rockin', then I want you to think of like maybe like top three highlights. 'Cause one would be too hard. So like whether that's interviewing people or just stuff you did with the show.
Right. Okay, so I would say you know, the highlight in terms of an interview, or interviews, I would pick two because they're so close to my heart. Paul McCartney and Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits. So they're two people that they're my wow guys.
Yeah,
And so to be able to talk to those two um, was amazing. And of course now this is way before, obviously way before smartphones and stuff. So when you got a picture, that picture was worth like a million words, right? And I got both because I never asked anybody I ever interviewed. I never asked for a picture, and it was only Paul and it was only Mark Knopfler, and so those are two that still are on my wall of fame. That I'll always cherish, and they both ended up being wonderful people. Um, McCartney, I will never forget. My producer Ken Gibson and I are in my hotel room. Uh, Hours before the interview, and we're going over questions. And he said, "Well, obviously, we're going to have to talk about the Beatles." And I remember thinking, going, like he probably like he's talked about that all his
yeah,
entire life. Like,
yeah.
yeah, really? Like, are we really going to go there? And he said, "Well, God, like, I mean, you got to. I mean, he's a Beatle." And we were like, "Yeah, okay." And so we were coming up with questions that we might ask. And whatever my first question was, I can't remember. He answered the question and then took me through the entire cycle of him getting into music, him meeting John, the Beatles, the whole thing in like this most gorgeous minute and a half sound bite. And I remember thinking, of course, he's done it so many times. I mean, this is how he executes it, right? And I thought I just had I respected him then, but I respected him even more for his answer and for him to appreciate that we all love him because of what he's done before and what he's done now, and it was great. And Mark Knopfler, for the lowest key guy ever, had the greatest sense of humor. And he
Wow.
was putting not like one-liners, but just the way he'd answer the questions were very tongue-in-cheek, and you could tell he's got a little smirk while he's answering. And I'm thinking, I never pegged you for that guy. I pegged you for a serious musician guitar guy. But clearly he liked to have a little fun. And we both kind of wore, for this picture we got, we both kind of had the same sort of outfit on, a jacket and a black t-shirt underneath. He had a blue and I had a red, and he was commenting on that. And simple things, but those are the things that are like super near to my heart for interviews.
I know, right?
For doing
And how long did you
yeah,
have for those guys? Like each of them, was it just a quick like 5-10 minute kind of thing,
it
or
was about 20 minutes. I remember Paul was
okay?
20 minutes backstage in Montreal, and
That's great.
Mark was at his hotel room, or in the hospitality suite. So he, I think he gave me a half hour or whatever. It was great.
Right.
Um, and just doing the actual show, Good Rockin' was, um, it was crazy. I mean, I've never been in a situation like that where you can go to anywhere in Canada and people know your face before you know them, or you've never been into a city and they know you before you know them. It's crazy,
Yeah.
and really cool, but like just nuts. And I think trying to sort of harness that and sort of trying to figure out a way to deal with that sort of recognition was a little bit difficult. And I had taken over for Terry David Mulligan, who is very well respected, particularly in Vancouver. And I knew a lot of people loved him. And when I came on board, I know there were a lot of people that weren't happy. So it was kind of a tough sort of go to begin with. But then it became, my show. I don't know, maybe 3 seasons in, I started to feel really comfortable and know that I could carry it from there.
Mhm.
So those are my best memories from that show for sure.
Yeah. And currently, mornings on 97.3 The Boom in Toronto. Was it just Boom?
It's Boom 97.3. Yeah.
And how
And
long
that
have you
has
been there for
been,
now?
so I've been doing mornings there for, I want to say, I think I'm in my 11th year.
Wow. Good for you.
And in radio in general, I'm 45 years in or something like that. Like, it's ridiculous. Um, but Toronto was my goal as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, and I knew that when I discovered that I could actually do radio, and it wasn't just for a special type of person, which I thought all my life. I thought it was just, there were special people that got to do that gig, and I wasn't going to be one of them. And then when I found out you could go to a broadcasting school and you could, I mean, just kidding, Winnipeg, right? You could do that and make a living out of it, and that it was feasible. I jumped all over it, but the goal had always been, um, you know, it's so funny. I mean, I was terrible when I started, like everybody is. You start and you're trying to find your way. But
Yeah.
I was so ridiculously aware of a goal that I wanted to achieve. It was always Toronto, and it was always mornings, and that had never left my sight. So when I finally got the chance to do it, it was like, yeah, feels good. And
Yeah.
yeah, so happy to be, it's just so happy to be here.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Well, I had the same sort of aspirations, but it was to get to CFOX to do the afternoon show. I did that for
Right,
about 12 years. And,
right.
and and since being shown the door in the summer of 2014, haven't gone back to radio. I started doing the podcast in like January 2015. A couple of years
Right.
into that, BCIT, the Radio Arts and Entertainment course, they were like, "Hey, do you want to come and kind of just be a presence in the environment and like mark some students and
Yeah.
just think tank with them and all that kind of stuff?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, let's do it!" And been doing that for about
Yeah.
7 years now. And I'll probably eventually get back to radio, but not for the time being. It's just so Do
There's
you
nothing.
do you have a podcast as well, Stu?
No, I don't. And it's more, I see podcasts like yours, and I realize that if I was to do one, it requires a lot of time and a lot of
It's a
effort, and I
lot of
want to
work.
make it look as slick as possible. Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of work, and I haven't got the time to do it.
fair enough.
Um, I'm happy being a guest. It's
Mm,
always good. It's the easy way out. Let somebody else ask the questions, man. I'm good.
I love it. How much did COVID screw with your work life? Was it very much or very little or?
Well, it's funny. Well, not funny, but my wife, I think, although we never found out, for sure, because it was in the early stages of COVID and the pandemic. But my wife got real sick one morning, and she just doesn't get sick. I remember was sleeping. We have a washroom upstairs. It's just off the bedroom, and I heard this crash, and she had fallen down, and her coffee cup had shattered, and the bathroom looked like a crime scene. She had cut her finger, but there was blood all over the place, and I'm like, "Oh my God, what is happening?"
Yeah.
And she had lost her balance. She said, "I felt dizzy, and then I just fell." And so we put her into bed, and she was quite sick, and so we thought that maybe that was the initial, COVID. Although everybody was afraid to go to the hospital. Nobody wanted to leave and go get tested. It was like you were going out into a war zone. So
Oh,
we just kind of kept her
crazy.
there in bed for
Those first couple of weeks, like, you feel like,
oh,
should I be washing these, fruits and veggies from, like, is that what we're supposed to
I
do here? What the hell's going
know.
on?
I remember our dear friend had dropped off some groceries for us, and she put them on the lawn and was spraying them with whatever that was and wiping down the grocery bags. I'll never forget it. Like
Like,
it was like,
what?
oh my God, what is happening? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
right.
then so we didn't determine whether she had it, but I was of course we shut down, and I did the show from my living room. We were already ready for it, just in case. We had sort of the station had sort of prepped itself for the
Yeah,
possibility. So
yeah, yeah.
I had a roadcaster and a couple of monitors, and it was easy to set up. And I remember as I'm doing it, thinking when I was a kid, if you'd have told me that I was going to be doing a morning show in Toronto from my living room, looking out onto my street, like I'd say you're crazy.
Right?
Um, but yeah, so we did that for about 5, 6 weeks, and then I went back into the studio, and we've been back ever since. But uh, it just it made me it, it sort of made me realize that how important the norm is to people. And when things are anything but normal, and they can come to you, and they want just you, they want your show, they want you to do what you do because Christ, we need normal right now.
Right.
That really made me realize the sort of power of this medium and why it's still so strong, right? And people couldn't maybe articulate it, but it's we've become friends with people we don't see, or we become part of the normal life of people we don't see. And please don't take that away from us. Please let things be normal, even when the entire world is not.
Mhm.
And that really kind of opened my eyes to the power. I've always known the power of it, but that was another example of just how beautiful this job can be, and why I'm so passionate about it, because of what it does to people and how it makes people feel.
Yeah, well said, dude. You have a lot of fans that want to ask questions of you as well. When
Yeah,
I posted that you were going to
excellent.
come on, of course, a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, this is going to be great." So,
I
uh,
hope I don't disappoint. There's too much pressure.
I know, right? Steve wants to know. He goes, "Ask him about his fondest memories of Switchback." We talked about that real quick. Hit it over there a few minutes back. He goes, I love the
Right.
show. I'd love to hear his thoughts."
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, I that show sort of fell in my lap when the host before me. I can't remember exactly what happened. I don't think I can't remember, but all I remember is the producer of the show, Herb Baring, had asked would I be interested in doing it, and it was a live kids TV show. And I had mentioned earlier on in our discussion how young and stupid you are, and you're just like open to anything.
Yeah,
I mean, if somebody approached me with that now, given my schedule, I go, there's no way I could do this.
sure.
But when you're young and dumb, it's like, yeah, bring it on. And oh my God, it could have been the most fun I've had doing TV. Um, and again, the sort of power of the communication and how you connect with your audience, the kids. I never knew that I was a kid person until I started doing a kid show, and I thought, oh my God, I love kids. Like this is so there's the combination of innocence, wildness, playfulness, mischievousness, whatever, all met at that show. And with a live studio audience, oh my God, it was
So
so
good.
much fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
I burnt in the end. I really burned out. Like, if I could go back again, I would love to redo the last couple of seasons and not be so exhausted. But I credit not only Herb, the producer, but Patsy McDonald, who was a director on that show, and everybody on that staff was so amazing at putting that show together. nothing but fond memories. If I had the chance, yeah, like I said, if I had the chance to go back, I'd fix the last couple of years. But man, yeah, most fun I've ever had.
Nice, nice. Claire says, has he ever had an interview go bad?
Oh hell yeah, yeah.
Like,
Um,
yeah, that's gonna happen over
yeah,
4 decades. Come on.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, and it's so funny. We did a trip to the UK in '86. I want to say 85, '86, whatever. And we went there for a week. And I mentioned the producer of the show, Ken Gibson, always at the top of things. And he's originally from London, I believe. So it was like going home for him, but he was in his element. It was like when we got there, we had a schedule of some of the bands that we would be interviewing, but as we drove to one interview, he was already setting up an interview with somebody else. It was a ridiculous schedule to the point where I remember going into some hotel, I guess, or something like that, or maybe a record place, I don't know. And I'm in the elevator and he's handing me a bio of Westworld. And he said, here, you're talking to them in 5 minutes. And I'm like, I had never heard of them up until that point. So I'm combing over the bio, trying to come up with stuff to talk about. And I just remember the name Westworld. And I'll never forget they had a song called Sonic Boom Boy. And I don't know if it did anything, but every time I think of the UK, I think of this band and this sort of one hit. It's crazy. But during this time, we sat down with Mark Hollis from Talk Talk, and he was just, I mean, he's dead now, and I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but he was just so mean. And, I got a real good example of don't think that you're good at what you do because you're not when you're not prepared for something like this. And I was not prepared for the way he handled the interview.
Mm,
Jesus and Mary Chain were another one that were just like, I never, I remember thinking they were being such jerks. And I remember like halfway through the interview thinking, at this point I could say, we're not going to play your video. And a year from now, no one's going to know who Jesus and Mary Chain is. Like I wanted to say it so badly, but it was
right.
like, no, let's keep talking, keep having your way, whatever. Um, so yeah, those went south, but so few. I
Right.
remember them because it was a disaster. But and not and when I say so few, I don't say it because I was such a great interviewer. It's just that people were so accommodating. Everything was always so good. People were excited to present their stuff, excited to talk about their video, excited to talk about their new band.
Right.
And we had a national show, so they knew it was a great window to do that. So for the most part, everybody was really nice. I was really lucky.
Yeah. That was the same for me. I think maybe 2, 3 at the most when I was at Fox. Like,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
wasn't very
And
many. And when
you
it was, like, you could really railroad them to be like one of them was Serge Tankian from System of a Down, right?
right,
And he was
right.
just giving me these one word answers, and it was like he was being really short, and he was just,
Yeah,
like midpoint of the interview, I was like, dude, like if you don't want to be here, like we can wrap it up. Like that's totally fine if you or you could talk
yeah,
about the album and the fact that you're coming to Vancouver and that you're working with this person. Like it's up to you, right?
yeah, yeah. And
Put
bingo,
it
and
back on
that's
them, and
it.
they're
And
usually pretty
yeah,
receptive, right?
and that was the thing to me. It's sort of like if you don't want to do it, you don't have to come in. I'm
Right,
cool, man. I don't need to. I don't want to talk to you if you don't want to talk to me.
right,
Stay away. That'd be awesome. But don't
yeah,
come in. And if you are going to come in, then commit to it for God's sake and be a good person.
yeah, yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, Sean goes. Saw Top Gun 3. What was his last movie at the theater?
Oh, my last movie? Oh wow. Uh oh, it's so boring. Downton Abbey.
Okay.
I have I've become such a fan of Downton Abbey, and I have to say that the movie I saw the second movie, the movie previous to that was really good. I really liked it. This movie was sort of like, come on now you're milking it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the enjoyable experience I wanted, but that would be the last thing I saw. I have not seen Top Gun.
I
I
haven't seen
will,
it either. I
but
heard it's amazing.
no, I hear it's just absolutely. I hear there are tears. Like there's moments
Yeah.
where it's like, oh my god, yeah. So I do want to see it. I also, you know what, Bullet Train got a lot of abuse, but
Oh
I
yeah.
want to see Bullet Train because it does look pretty good. I
Yeah.
I like to see Brad Pitt in that kind of environment. So, but yeah, sorry, the last movie was Downton Abbey, and I apologize.
Are you a fan of all the like the superhero movies,
Oh
Thor
yeah,
and
yeah.
Wonder Woman and all that
Saw,
Batman?
yeah, saw Avengers Endgame with my kids, and all three of them, and my wife, all three of us, or all four of us at the theater. And man, at that moment where they all assemble at the
Yeah,
end, I got chills. I mean, I read those comics when I was a kid, and it
totally
seems
right.
to me that the Marvel universe just keeps getting better and better. And I know it's CGI, and I don't give a crap. It's just so good. You see Captain America turn around, and all his peeps are there, and he says, "Avengers assemble." Give me that all the time. I was like, yeah, let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Like back in, back to your good Rockin' Tonight days, it was music for me and it was comic books, and
Yes.
and to
Yes.
and to know that they're at the point where they are now, releasing as many blockbuster huge movies. It just
Yeah.
blows my mind that we're at this point. I never, because like, as a kid, you used to you'd be called like a what a nerd, and it was kind of nerdy
Yeah.
to read
Yeah.
comic books, right?
For sure. And also, you didn't get the great special effects that we have now. I mean, the Spider-Man movies and the Captain America movies when we were kids were just garbage.
Right.
But
In comparison,
now it's sort
terrible.
of like that's
Yeah.
the Captain America I remember. And I remembered, and one thing I particularly enjoy now about watching movies is a good rockin' towards the later years. We went on movie junkets all the time. So, and we weren't critics, we were just presenters. So I would get a chance to talk to the stars of the movie and get them to talk about their role, what the movie meant to them, and all that stuff.
Mm,
Um, and I remember that the schedule was so hectic, and in a lot of ways, it kind of ruined the sort of movie experience. Knowing how sometimes you'd find out how the stars really felt about their roles, or or maybe you met them and they weren't really very forthcoming, or they weren't very nice, and it kind of ruined the experience. So glad to have that behind me now, where you can go to a movie and just dig it, and you don't have to worry about, oh yeah, I interviewed him or I interviewed her and they're not very nice or whatever. It's now I
right.
could just enjoy it.
No,
Yeah.
it can definitely change the way that you perceive not only acting in that world, but also if you meet like, I've met some musicians where I'm like, man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like I liked your band
I
until like
know.
this exact moment.
Yeah.
Now you're like, I got no time for you now.
No, and it's like, it's there's so much to that saying about don't meet your heroes. You don't want to meet your heroes, right? And for the most part, in terms of music, my heroes, I was lucky. Like, there weren't. I really can't remember if there was a really super bad experience, but I know exactly what you're saying, and you kind of dig these guys. Like lately, Eric Clapton and Van Morrison. I don't know what the hell happened to those guys during the pandemic, but they just turned into jerks. Like, Eric Clapton compared him not touring to slavery, to the point where Robert Cray got a hold of him and said, "Eric, what are you doing? Like, what are you saying?" And I don't think those guys are friends anymore. Like, they just kind of went off the rails a little bit, and I love those guys. And now, when I hear Clapton or I hear Van Morrison, I'm thinking, "Oh God, just a bunch of crabby old men." And can I
Right.
separate the art from the artist? And all it's hard to do sometimes.
Hard to do.
Yeah, yeah, you love them, like you want to love them, but it's like, oh man, you're such a jerk. Like,
Right.
whatever.
Right. Stu, what was the music in your house as a kid growing up?
A lot of radio, and a lot of AM radio, and a lot of late '60s, early '70s. And uh, when the show, morning show, was pitched to me at Boom, where I was just going to be the only guy there, uh, I remember my first reaction was like, "Okay, well, now we're in a market with a whole bunch of multi-show or multi-person shows, and I'm going to be doing it by myself." And when I say by myself, I don't even have it's just me. So I'm doing the board, I'm doing everything. There's nobody else in that studio.
Right.
Um, and I remember when I started doing that, thinking, and the initial pitch of the show was, we just want it to be maybe not a typical morning show, just something a little high energy, maybe lots of requests or something. I remember thinking, oh God, that sounds gruesome.
Uh,
Uh, but it was the '70s radio I listened to as a kid that I was able to sort of channel, because that was when the Drake format came out, where it was like you took care of your business over the intros of songs. And it wasn't just, if you have 14 seconds and you're doing weather, you failed. I need information over that 14 seconds. Anything you can give me, but you got 14 and you better be tight. Um, and then if I stop down for a commercial break, I'm giving you a minute and a half. in that minute and a half, you better have some quality shit because I'm not listening anymore. And it was
Mhm.
move forward with that energy. And so I was raised on that. And so I was able to sort of bring that to that sort of 70s, way of thinking into the 2000s, into the, whatever. Uh, and it's been successful, and there's nobody happier than me.
Yeah.
I have the support of some great people, and really I do. I have support of great people and let me be me. But that has served me well. So in my house, when I was a kid, I've just basically taken that to the grown up me now, and it works fine.
Interesting. Tight is right. That's what it's
Oh,
about.
tight is
Tight
right.
radio
And
is
let me tell
right.
you, that's right. And you know what? Radio people know what tight is. And I know that listeners don't really know what tight is, but tight is also give me something, right? Like, give me, like,
Keep me
let
around.
me, yeah, keep me around. And you're not going to keep me around by telling me it's 14 degrees and getting up to 25. That means
Right.
nothing to me. Like, give me some shit.
Give me something, some
And
substance. Give
it,
me some, like
yeah,
there's a reason to listen
yeah,
to the radio, and it's for guys like you. You
yes.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you fail if you don't do that. Like, it's a disservice, and you can hear people mailing it in a mile away. It's like, no, man, put the work in.
Totally.
And also, you know what? 70s, 80s, 90s is our format. I was raised on that, so there isn't a song I don't know. So yeah, and you know
Song,
it
and
so
it's the
intimately.
pop culture
Yeah,
that and it's like,
yeah,
you're talking to
yeah.
like your buddy and your wife, and right? Like,
Exactly, exactly. And you know when the vocal kicks in, and you know when it's over, and you know all of that stuff to the point where
right,
you hit it and you just feel you know what's coming.
right.
And boy, I tell you, that is such a wonderful place to be. And I don't know, it does. It feels like home. It's so good.
That's awesome, dude. What was your first concert that you went to, and how old were you?
1974, I guess I was 14, and I went to see BTO with my buddy Donnie. I was in Winnipeg, and BTO was the headliner, and I loved them. My first album was Not Fragile. I mean, remember the first time I heard Not Fragile and You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet, I was like, oh my God, I love these guys.
Sure.
And so we got tickets to the show, and the Ozark Mountain Daredevils were the opening act.
Oh,
So,
that eventually
yeah.
becomes um, Joe Walsh.
No, I don't know if Joe Walsh was I don't know if he was with the Ozark Mountain Daredevils. If he was, then that's one on me, man.
I think
All I
so.
remember is we got the album. My friend Donnie and I got the album, and we listened to every song so that we could sing along to the song. We had no idea who they were, right? And we heard Jackie Blue and If You Want to Get to Heaven and that sort of stuff, right? And we thought, okay,
Yeah.
cool, we know these songs, but let's know everything so that when the band comes on stage, we're going to be singing along. We did our homework. So I remember we get to the show, and so the MC walks out. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ozark Mountain Daredevils are unable to be here tonight. They had some issues at the border or whatever the hell it was. So Donnie and I were going, oh man. And they said, instead, would you please welcome Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band? And we had never heard of Bob Seger before. He kicks in with Kathmandu, and we are like, oh my God, we're in rock and roll heaven.
That is
And we knew
amazing.
none of his songs, like none, until I think he busted out Night Moves, and then we kind of, oh yeah, I know that one.
Oh, this guy. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then BTO opened up, and it was like, oh God, talk about those. You remember your first concert, right? You never forget it. Your ears are
Never.
ringing, and it's sort of
Sure.
like that was the best experience of my
That's
life.
amazing. Amazing. All right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna wrap it up. One last. Well, it's not really a question. I generally just try to get guests of the podcast to share a near death story, like where
Oh, okay.
they should have died.
Okay. Wow, there's a couple. Um, we did a
Everybody's always
shoot.
got one or two. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, we did a shoot at for Switchback at the Capilano Suspension Bridge, and I didn't, it was very safe, but I have a big fear of heights. And I remember they wanted me right in the middle of the bridge so they could shoot a promo, and I was hanging on to both rails for dear life. And there was a moment which is super out of body, and I'll never forget it, where I thought I was going to jump. Like I really did. I thought I was going to jump, even though there's no way you could have. I thought I was going to, and it froze me so much that I couldn't do it. I had to, camera was rolling. I said, "Can you stop for a sec? Because I really think I'm going to jump." I remember a cameraman, Hugh Henderson, came running up to me and, "You're okay. There's no place you can go. You're very safe. It's all good." So, and I thought, this is the end of me. And I don't know why, but I'm going to leap over the Capilano suspension bridge.
Like,
And the only
isn't
other
that
time,
weird that like that happens to people? And
it
I've read about
does,
that. It
man.
happens to
It
people at like crazy heights
does.
like that.
You look over
What
an
is it
edge or
about that?
something,
Like,
and I don't know, and it's the worst thing. My one of my directors, Gordy Gill, and his wife Patsy lived in a high-rise apartment, and may still live in the same apartment on in Falls Creek. And they lived on the 22nd floor, 23rd floor, remember? And I remember Gordy telling me how a guy came, they had to replace the windows, the big glass windows, because they were faulty, and they took them out. So Gordy said, in my place at the 21st floor, there was no window between me and outside. Like it was just the breeze is coming a little bit. He said he stood by this door and didn't move with his hands against the wall until they fixed it. Because all the while he thought, I'm going to run. I'm going to run and leap out that
right?
window, and that's going to be the end of it.
Like,
So,
have you ever been driving just, wherever on a highway or whatever, and it's like a cliff down to a water, to a river, and like,
yep.
I've thought so many times. I don't know if this makes me crazy, but I've thought so many times, like,
No.
how fucking cool would that be to like take this and just jump this bitch right now? Like, I've thought that
Exactly.
so many times.
And it's wrong, but you can't help it, right? Do you see the did you watch the morning show by any chance on Apple TV
No, I
with
don't.
Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon?
Oh no, I
Okay,
don't
really
know.
got, I won't give it away, but I I highly recommend it. Go watch it because there's a scene that's kind of like that, but I don't want to give it away in case
Yeah.
people haven't seen it. It's really cool episode. And the only other time I thought I was going to die was grade six, walking home from school with my buddy John, and it was winter, and we were standing on top of the snowbanks in Winnipeg, and they were huge, and we were having a snowball fight. And he hit me with a snowball perfect, like side of the face, knocked me over. I fell onto the street just as the bus was coming, and I'm not kidding. I saw the bus coming. I'm lying on the street, and for whatever reason, I pulled in my legs into the fetal position and just sort of grabbed myself, try to pull my legs away from the wheel of the bus. I could see it was this close, and the bus zipped by, and I was not hurt. But had I not curled up, I would have been mangled. Like, I'll never forget my buddy John saying, "You nearly died," and I was like, "Yeah." And then we just get back snowball fight again. Like, it was pretty
Oh
cool.
my god. Love it. Shares a couple. Stu Jeffries, you are a king among men. Thank you, man, for taking the time to jump on the Toddcast here in Vancouver. You're easy to find online, at Stu Jeffries. Your name on both Twitter and Instagram. Boom 97.3. Is it 97.3 or 97.3? How do you guys say that?
And we say boom 97.3, but 97.3 is where it's at. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, wherever I'm looking forward to the days when uh you can sort of put social media behind you and just have a conversation like
Oh,
we're having right now. I really appreciate it, man. It's so fun, and I love this stuff. I could do this forever. And it's not just about talking about yourself. It's just about talking with somebody as passionate as I am about this business. So, Todd, I appreciate the chance, but also appreciate being able to get your vibe as well. So cool, man.
right on, brother. I will keep in touch, man. I appreciate again you jumping on and helping me get down that path, man, because I've had like the best career. Wouldn't change anything.
So much fun, isn't it? It's the
So
best,
good.
right?
It's so good. Yeah. Right on, brother. We'll talk
All
to you
right,
soon.
Todd.
Okay. Take care.
Okay, man. Take care.